I knew you couldn't get enough of our sexy content. Let's have a quickie.
Hey guys, it's Brady. I was talking to Mariah recently about vasectomies, and she prompted me to do a quickie about it because one of the big hot topics right now is Roe v. Wade and what the response from the world has been. And so, yeah, let's jump right into it. I want to talk about my experience with my vasectomy personally. I'm sure there's other stories out there, maybe some potential disaster stories, but the experience that I had was quite positive. So I talked to my doctor and I told him I wanted a vasectomy and that she was my girlfriend at the time. We had talked and we decided a vasectomy was right for us. And so the doctor was like, well, I have concerns. I think you need to have a long conversation with your partner and make sure that she's on board with that. And because he was like, this is permanent. Like technically, yeah, you could go in for a surgery to get it reversed, but like the surgery might not work, the insurance won't cover it. It's a big deal. And I was like, cool, I think that's fair. So I talked to Jamie about it. We had a couple conversations back and forth. And what I ultimately decided was because my doctor's biggest concern is that Jamie's going to turn a certain age and that like biological clock is going to kick into gear. And that would be an issue. So what we decided on was Jamie wrote me a letter, and it was a letter from Jamie to Jamie about all the reasons why we had decided a vasectomy was right for us, and why that was a choice that she was making now so that, maybe in the future, if that biological clock kicked off and she had some emotions about it, she could refer back to this decision that we made together. The frustrating thing that I felt in this whole thing is that it's a lot more invasive and it's a lot more difficult to get a doctor to sign off on. If Jamie had wanted to get her tubes tied or hysterectomy or something, it's a much more invasive surgery, so it's not something that they do lightly. And it really, I felt frustrated on behalf of Jamie because I felt like maybe it was almost like because she was a woman, she had less options. And so like that part, those feelings were something that I felt, and that was kind of personal to my journey towards getting a vasectomy. But anyways, we went in for a second visit with my doctor, which wasn't like a huge deal. I was seeing him kind of regularly for some other stuff at the time. And so he said, okay, let's schedule it. And he wrote me a prescription for Valium, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. I got 2 tablets, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was Valium. And so the day the surgery came, my boss knew I needed to be off. I left a little early. I went home. I was waiting for Jamie to come home. And when the timer hit for whatever the amount of time was that I had to take that first tablet, I took the first tablet that was in my prescription. They gave me a whole bottle for 2 pills, but so I took that tablet, and I decided that when I got to the clinic, I was going to take the second tablet before walking in, because I was like, if I'm already acting kind of loopy, maybe they won't let me have it and they're going to take it away from me. And I did not want that, because it was in the instructions for them to bring the second tablet with me to the appointment. So I took it as soon as we got there. I walked in, the nurse asked about it. I said, I just took it. And she said, oh, perfect. That's what we wanted, which was cool. I don't remember feeling loopy or anything like that from the Valium. I don't remember feeling, like I have on other pain medications in the past, when I've had other issues. But I also really wasn't nervous. I've had a lot of shots. I've had stitches. I've got I've had a lot of stitches, I think, actually. So I really wasn't nervous about it. The biggest concern that I had was during my physical examination when I was prescribed the Adderall was my left or your right testicle is higher than the one on the right or your left. So the doctor, when he was examining it, was like, this one might be a little difficult. So, whatever he had to say about that. And I guess the concern is that it's difficult to lift the tubing out, the vas, they call it, when they're tight. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast or not, but I joke around with like my esthetician and a few other people that I get shy dick, and my balls, like if I know I'm going to have my balls out in public, for whatever reason, they just tighten up. So I knew the doctor really well. He's been my doctor my whole life, or he had been my doctor my whole life. He's retired now. And I knew the nurse really well. She'd been with the doctor for a long time. Her and I had a really good rapport. So it doesn't really matter. I'm going to get my balls out in public. They're going to tighten up. So we go into the surgery room, and I get on the chair, and I'm just kind of like laid back on the chair. They cover my see, I think I took my pants off. I kept my shirt on. I took my pants off. And then, they put like a drape cloth around that's got like a hole cut in it for the, the twig and tube edge. And so they get that out, and I think I got a local anesthetic for my scrotum. So I get like a little tiny prick, like flu shot type, not even as bad as a flu shot, in my scrotum. And then I believe there was a second injection after that, one for each side in my vas deferens. That was probably the most painful part of the entire surgery. And so, and I'm going to have to ask Jamie. Jamie had a better view than I did. I believe they only made one incision. There may have been two incisions. And unfortunately, because of the texture of scrotum, it's impossible to find these scars. So I felt pressure or like a pulling, and it wasn't really uncomfortable. The shot was the worst part. So I get an actual numbing shot in the part they're going to cut, the vas, and the doctor cuts it, and he removes a piece, puts it in a little glass bottle. The nurse sets that on the table behind her. I'm laughing and joking at this time with the nurse and cracking jokes. And I hope I've told Mariah this joke because she loves dinosaurs, but I specifically that day wore a Jurassic Park t-shirt, and I was really proud of my choice in wearing this t-shirt because I had a joke. I was ready. I wrote a joke for this. And the nurse is she's having a hard time. I think she's laughing, and she's kind of struggling to do her job because I'm being a comedian the whole time. And I look at her and I go, Brittany, do you know why I wore a Jurassic Park shirt today? She's like, no, why? And I was like, all the dinosaurs on this island have been engineered to be female. And it was just to make a joke that I was no longer going to be able to breed, but I thought it was fucking funny. Well, apparently Brittany thought it was funny too, because she started laughing. And at that point, the doctor was like, Brady, I should be done already. Stop it. You're giggling. You're making it hard to hang on to things. You're distracting the nurse. Knock it off. And I was like, oh, okay. So he goes to the second side. And of course, that's the side I'm worried about, my left. And he gives me an injection there. And again, that was the most painful part, but it really wasn't that bad. It was quite bearable. I'm trying to think what I would equate it to. Maybe like moderate gas pains, not the worst gas pains where you have to like stop walking, but just like moderate gas pains. Really not that bad. And so he gives me that shot, and then probably the most uncomfortable part of this was the second part. Is now he's got to lift this vas out, this tubing, and I'm under the impression there's two layers of tubing. So there's the surrounding whatever to the whole thing, and then there's the interior where the tubing that the sperm actually traveled through. And so I'm under the impression that they would open that tubing, the first layer, pull the second layer of tubing, the inner layer of tubing out, and they would remove what I would guess, they're in a glass vials, but I would guess them to be maybe 1/4 of an inch long piece. And they send these to a lab to get tested to make sure they've removed the right tissue. And so the doctor, during that part of the process, that being my tight side, I'll call it, felt like my lung was being tugged on, like it was pressure up here, or not pressure, but a pulling. And that was probably the most uncomfortable part, was just sort of that it felt like a long time that this lung was being pulled on. I mean, I could breathe, and I was just sort of like, oh, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. And I would put it down as like the mildest case of heartburn that you can still sort of like detect as far as that pressure. And oh, excuse me. Anyways, so Mariah will appreciate that. She's a burper. At that point, you know, the Valium must have been doing something, because I was told that they cauterized them. I expected there to be a smell. I thought I would smell myself cooking. I didn't see steam. I didn't smoke or anything. Maybe I watched some bad YouTube videos and doing my research for this procedure or something. I expected there to be like wispies of smoke coming up from between my legs and maybe being able to smell like cooked meat. But I didn't smell, or I didn't even know it, but I was told that, yeah, we cauterized them. And then I think I was given some stitches. I know I had stitches internally, the dissolvable ones. I'm pretty sure he put dissolvable stitches in my scrotum as well. But I may have actually removed those. I like taking out my own stitches, but anyways, it's irrelevant. So at that point, the doctor helped me out of the chair, and we put on what I call my vasectomy underwear, which is actually just a really cute pair of plaid. I don't know, like men's booty shorts. I don't know what you'd call them. Maybe one of these days I'll bring them in and show you. Jamie bought them for me, and so I was break them out. I'm like, my vasectomy undies. I sing too much to Jamie. It's probably frustrating for her, but doctor helped me put those on. It kind of felt uncomfortable. I felt capable of dressing myself, but he decided to assist me, and I don't know. He's probably had people stand up out of the chair and pass out or fall over or whatever. You know, I mean, men are, I think, interesting creatures in the fact that we can be so badass about some things and then like get a look at your own blood and just pass out. So put the shorts on. The doctor was really clear with Jamie about like the instructions for me, the next few hours or weeks or whatever. He kept telling me to use peas to ice myself. The big concern was that the scrotum is pretty sensitive tissue, and I think looking back, the doctor was right. I was like, fuck your peas, man. I love ice. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast or not, but I cuddle sometimes at night with big bags of ice that I've made with a vacuum sealer and rubbing alcohol so that they stay slushy and you squish it. And I was convinced for a while I could fight the flu with ice. I fucking love it. But anyways, so I was like, fuck your ice, man. And I did regret that at one point. I fell asleep on the couch with one of my homemade ice packs, and I'm pretty sure I gave myself frostbite on my scrotum. It was like hard to the touch. It was like frozen skin. It was rough. They've recovered. So as far as recovery goes, Friday I had the operation done. Saturday, I kind of maybe felt like some kidney sense, like just maybe some gas pressure, kind of just in that area. Guys know what I'm kind of talking about. Like if you take a hit to the nuts, you get like you kind of feel that like I'll say channel that travels like up into your abdomen. They're kind of tender. I kind of felt like that. Like it was sort of like the after effects of maybe just getting flicked in the ball. Like not hard enough to drop you to your knees, but just enough to be like, ooh, hard to breathe. But nothing really major. Sunday, I think I started getting bruising developed. I continued to have erections this entire time, but the doctor told me to wait. I think I was supposed to wait a week before I did anything sexual. I probably made it 3 days. I didn't feel any pain the first time I ejaculated, nothing like that. But I do remember laying on the couch and swapping out an ice pack or something, and I looked, and I was like, oh. I've got this phone. If anybody out there in the world is willing to help me repair a phone, I've got this. It's an Android, or it's a Droid. But there are pictures on this phone. Stupid green screen. There are pictures on this phone of me getting of the bruising that I had after my vasectomy, and it was like, again, it was not painful, but blood flows in that area. So I always joked around that it looked like I used my dick for a lightning rod, but it really wasn't tender or sore anywhere. So as far as recovery went, Monday I felt fine, went to work, kind of took it easy. Tuesday went to work, kind of took it easy. Wednesday I was still feeling so good that I did like my normal thing, and instantly regretted it right at the end of the day. I was like, oh, there's that pressure again. I don't feel very comfortable. I ended up leaving. I called my boss, was like, hey man, I'm gonna do this paperwork tomorrow. I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta go lay down. He was pretty cool about it. And then I would say probably for a week and a half, my balls hung all the time like I was in a sauna. Just, not swollen, but like plump and dangly as fuck. I had to wear a lot of spandex to keep them from knocking around, getting stuck between my knees, and eventually that went away. It just took some time. I want to say it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and talking to other people who've had vasectomies, that seemed about normal. So I would say like the probably the worst part of the whole vasectomy was really just like there's the worst part was probably all in my head than anything. And I am pretty comfortable with doctors. I visit a doctor regularly. I do blood work and that kind of thing. And so, I trust them. I don't have a problem getting naked in front of doctors. Surgery is surgery, you just go and get it done. You got to do it or whatever. So, really, honestly, the worst part of the whole situation was like what I built up in my own head. Everything else was relatively easy to deal with. I would say the biggest thing is I would take it easier longer than I did, because you're going to feel fine. And not that you aren't fine, but you're probably not ready to be lifting. I was lifting concrete at the time. Not a good idea. And then, so post-op, I had to complete, I believe I was told 4 weeks or 30 ejaculations. I had that done in like 2 weeks, but I went ahead and waited the 4 weeks because I don't want to seem weird. And then the instruction that I had been given was to have sex with a condom on, and then sort of like pour that out into the cup that I had been provided. And by the way, if there are any doctors listening and you give your patient a sample cup, give me like something to carry it in with. I stopped at the store and like bought a paper bag because I didn't want to like walk in holding a cup of jizz into the clinic. It's a clear cup. It was obvious what it was. I don't want to like put it in my pocket and open it by accident or something, I did not end up having sex with a condom on. I masturbated into the cup, and I wanted to be sure, did it twice. And then they gave me my all clear report. Because when you have a vasectomy, there are still live sperm up swimming around past where they're manufactured, all the plumbing and tubing and the prostate and everything. So you do have the ability to continue to get people pregnant right after your vasectomy. So make sure that you go in and you get that test done. So I tested in the positive or the negative, however you want to look for it, as being vasectomied properly. I have mentioned to my new doctor, because my old doctor retired, that I would be interested in ordering a lab to be retested, because there is a percentage of vasectomies that fail, and generally that has to do with like an extra vas tube that has traveled. It was already there, but it didn't really quite connect, and now that the main plumbing has been blocked off, it'll eventually work its way through. But I think those are pretty rare cases. So I'm not too stressed out about it. Sometimes on a really hot day, if I go digging for it, I think I can feel the ends where the cuts were made. But I don't think that's really big issue. For a short while after that, I had like a little lump in there, and I went chasing after it. It'd always run from me, and then I'd go to see the doctor and I'd get shy balls and I couldn't show him, or shy dick. And but that's gone. And I read somewhere that that can happen post vasectomy. If you get some sperm inside your scrotum, you can end up with these kind of like lumps of antibodies kind of killing those sperm, because they're not recognized as your body cells. But if anybody has any input on vasectomies or questions for me about my vasectomy, feel free to email us saltysexcast@gmail.com. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. Mariah is hilarious. She posts awesome stuff, and I love sharing memes. And sometimes I send her a meme that's good enough to end up on there. And so it'd be funny to see if you could guess which ones I sent her. But yeah, reach out to us, email. Don't forget to follow us on Patreon. Check us out there, and then you can always go to saltysexcast.com. Anyways, I appreciate the hell out of all you people, and you have a wonderful time out there. Be safe. Get your vasectomy. Take responsibility for your part of the birth control plan with your partners. Don't just depend on them. That's totally not fair. Yeah, that's why I did mine. All right. Love you guys.
I knew you couldn't get enough of our sexy content. Let's have a quickie.